am visible now?
Yes, madam, I can see.
Okay. So shall we begin, sir, now?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the very first question that I would like to ask you, sir, before thanking you for joining us for this session, for Desi Kanun, is that you have pursued a dual Masters of Law from New York University and National University of Singapore. So how do you believe that this dual Masters has benefited you, and how would it benefit a law student in general?
I think there are two aspects to it. The first is your academic inclination to do something after your LLB degree, which is your first degree in law. And at my time in law school, I've always wanted to pursue two masters. Luckily, I could pursue them in 1 year. That is the first leg of the argument. The second is you asked how does it benefit young lawyers, young law students who wish to pursue a master's, especially a master's abroad. Is look, when you go abroad, one, you get to learn about a different legal system, different jurisdiction, and especially where you have a lot of international students, it becomes a melting pot of a kind. So, you have people coming from different countries with their own set of experiences, their own set of backgrounds, their own set of stories that you get to discuss with them and learn from them. I think that's a great learning curve. And also different age groups are there. So when I started my master's, I was the youngest. There were people who were at least 10, 15, 20 years older to me in my batch. So that is the type of learning curve that you receive sitting in a class with different intellectuals, people with even different verticals from law. Somebody is a law firm partner, somebody is an in-house counsel, somebody is a litigator, somebody is a policy maker, somebody is an academician. So when everybody sits together, you get a very electric atmosphere in the classroom. So I would say definitely, if you wish to pursue a degree abroad, by all means do it, and always try for a scholarship. And if you get few years of work experiences, before you go for your international masters, I think your chances for scholarship increase.
Okay. So what do you think are some intricacies of litigation that no one tells law graduates before they join the profession, but are important for them?
I think it's a great question, but there are too many intricacies. I don't think anybody in the law schools first tells you which side of the court to stand in when you are actually entering a courtroom. For example, if you are doing a criminal case and first day you enter a trial court, you should know where the prosecution stands, where the defense stands. You don't know that. If you go in high court or in Supreme Court, again, the same conundrum begins with side to stand, because the sides either tend to get reversed in Supreme Court. You can stand on either side and make your argument, but before that, you have to identify which side you represent, to the bench. So as basic as that, and also litigation is such a huge industry, and it's an ever-going process. So, for example, tomorrow, let's say a young person either in an internship or in a job is given a file, and it can be a file where a matter is having a fresh start, or it can be a file where a matter is in the middle of the trial, or it can be a file where an appeal is pending or a final argument has to be concluded. So you must know how to gauge a file according to that perspective. So that perspective only comes with experience. Law school, I think, braces you with good academic knowledge, with good theoretical knowledge, but it's something like, you cannot learn swimming by watching a YouTube video. Similarly, you cannot learn law by just reading the books. You have to be in court. You have to literally practice, sometimes be at the wrong end of the stick, get scolded from the judges, or be hammered by the opposite counsels, etc. So there are these day-to-day challenges that you face as a practicing lawyer. It doesn't matter if you are pursuing litigation or corporate, as your vocation. But again, to learn swimming, as I said, YouTube videos will not come to your rescue. You'll have to actually go take a dip in the pool, learn from the shallow end, and then go to the deep end eventually to become a skillful swimmer. So it's just like, in litigation also, you start slow. You start doing, smaller matters which are mandated to you either by the clients or by your, chamber senior, and they teach you the intricacies, of the profession one day at a time.
Indeed, sir, that's very true. So how do you think that law school education has changed ever since you graduated?
So I think few co-curricular activities have been introduced that were, that were not there at my time. We used to have a lot of moot courts and debates when I was in law school. But in the past 2 to 4 years, I have been privileged to judge this client counseling, trial advocacy, MUN, arbitration competitions, etc., which have, I think, taken some steam. But by and large, I think the curriculum still remains the same as is mandated by the Bar Council of India. That tenure and the duration for LLB course is still the same. Well, I think we have 3 years and 5 years, so that still remains intact. On the contrary, I think when the 5-year programs were started, and I am from one of those law schools in India, which were very new to this concept of 5-year law school back in the early 2000s, when India was still experimenting with this type of law school curriculum and law school setup. Today, again, I think we have the whole mandate of developing this quality course has diluted both by the governmental and the private universities, because in 2018 there was a stay order by the Bar Council of India targeting the mushrooming of these law schools, which I think is a welcome step. But we have to ensure that we get a quality education, across the legal sector in India. We have to, guarantee that the 3-year courses and the 5-year courses are quality courses. The intake of the students is not at random, or they are not taken arbitrarily left, right, and center just to appease, people of the country. Law as a profession is a very serious profession. We are the last hope to a lot of citizens when it comes to getting justice from any court in the country. And if you do not get good lawyers to help the people of this country, then where will they go? And if the institutions themselves are not equipped or are ill-equipped, not having proper infra or not having good faculty to teach, then the eventual sufferer will be the citizen of this country who is going to a lawyer to get the sense of justice. So I think the education institution definitely plays an important role, but I think the Bar Council of India still, in my limited opinion, has to be more hands-on with their approach of regulating the education system in the country.
Okay, sir. So you have had work experience with different advocates in the past. So what are the different values related to the profession that you learned from each of them?
I think the common denominator across all the law offices and the chambers that I have learned is hard work and dedication. I know it sounds very cliche, but that is something which is a common thread amongst all the seniors that I have been privileged to be associated with, across the 4 different offices that I have the honor to work with. So, they've all been very laborious, hardworking, industrious, meticulous in terms of reading file, advising the clientele, going to the court, being fully prepared with their research, with their judgments. And I'm sure, it comes at a cost of, compromising on your sleep time, because there is so much of pressure in delivering quality arguments, supporting and aiding the court and the judges who are there to, hear your matter. Sometimes, you have to just wait it out in the court, waiting for your matter to come. Sometimes there are random adjournments. So what I've learned is definitely, besides other, virtues that I told you, is also patience. So you develop patience, accordingly. Sometimes you have to wait it out in the court, or sometimes a client problem may be so intricate that you may have to, delve some time, one, in meeting the client in a conference, and then reading their files and the papers to assess as to what the real problem is about. So I think it's an ongoing process, and every senior of mine has told me, there is no shortcut to hard work and success. So you have to really, really work hard, brace yourself that this is, one industry where we have to be, completely sure of ourselves, and that can only come when, we know how to manage time, when we know how to go about things, and also understand the profession, which will only come, by, practicing on a regular basis.
Right, sir. I have seen a lot of junior associates, interns, or senior lawyers. They spend the entire night practicing for their hearing, preparing their arguments. So the sleep schedule is like almost non-existent. So yeah, that's
right.
But once you get successful, so I think all of that is worth it. Those are a part of experiences. Right. So, sir, through your LinkedIn handle and your internship programs, you have been mentoring a lot of students, interacting with a lot of law students. So, how has your experience been interacting with minds, and what have they taught you?
Right. I think great question. I think the journey on LinkedIn has been phenomenal. I've now been active there for almost 4 years. I think 2018 mid, I started posting certain things, and then 19, the posting increased a little bit. And Corona for 2 years, made us all hooked to our computers and smart screens. And that is when I think I became a more regular writer, because I knew that the students were suffering, both personally, professionally, because of COVID. I knew young entrants at the bar were suffering. And having interacted with so many young minds, either DMing me or sending email to my office email ID, or reaching out to me for different conferences, webinars, think tank schedules, etc. And it really inspired me, to be very honest. I'm like, if the young people in college sitting at home can do so much, I'm a practicing lawyer, how can I contribute my 2 cents to the benefit of my fraternity, the young ones? I have limited exposure. I'm not very old. This is my 15th year in the profession, having completed 14 years now at the bar. And there's this, I really took this up as a challenge, thinking that, look, if people younger to me by 10, 15, 20 years can take this initiative, then definitely, I should be ashamed of myself not doing anything at all for the profession in terms of a wider reach to people who either cannot come to Delhi or who cannot get an internship at the place of choice. So then I started, at least posting everything. I always had a very active internship program, so that translated into virtual internship during COVID era. And every time whenever I'm interacting with anybody, be it people who are my colleagues, people who are younger to me, people who are elder to me, uh, I, I think I'm someone who listens to people with an open mind, because I personally and I firmly believe that we have something to learn from everybody. And in the profession of law, it's not that the judges and the other lawyers who teach you; it's also the clients who are giving you information and knowledge when you're interacting with them. So I think learning is a never-ending process. And if you're open to the idea of learning, you will enjoy this journey of learning. So yes, I have been. I don't know if active is the right word. Perhaps overactive on LinkedIn. Sometimes I get accused of that. But trust me, I don't think it's rocket science. I'm only writing my thoughts. And the idea behind those thoughts is, can I write something positive, something worthwhile, something which can attack in the right manner and motivate you to do things for the betterment of society. That's my mantra. And once you are a practicing lawyer, once you have an active thought process, I don't think you have to really think long and hard to draft a post. As lawyers, by practice, by our hard work, by God's grace, we are trained to be articulate in our approach. We are trained to read things in a very short span of time. So writing a LinkedIn post becomes less and less daunting. Once you are putting a post out there almost on a daily basis, and then people on this particular platform, I personally think, are very professional and very intelligent. You are putting your thought not just for law students or for academia or for the lawyers. Anybody can see your post, anybody can react to your post, anybody can comment on your post, and anybody can also abuse your post. So it's an open platform. It's a free country, it's a free world, and you can't stop anybody unless, if somebody is being very abusive, you can obviously raise a red flag and make a complaint to the LinkedIn platform or to the organizer, etc. There are mechanisms to that effect also. But I think the idea is, can you, by your thought process and by doing something about it, uh, ensure that there is change for better? That is one of my hashtags also, on my handle. So that is my limited approach. That I can't intern everybody, I can't train everybody, but through the digital platform that we have been blessed to have, in this era of information technology, can I reach out to as many people as possible and make some positive dent in their life? So that is my very humble approach on a day-to-day basis, and that's why I put my posts. Sometimes they are short posts, sometimes they are witty posts, sometimes they are analyzing a judgment. So I try to keep a mix and match to keep the fun going with my target audience.
Yes, so indeed. I remember watching one of your posts on LinkedIn where you had mentioned a lot of professions that law students can take up, that it is not just limited to litigation. So I think that was one of the posts that was very helpful, and I reshared it with a lot of people. So, of course, you never know which thing might help someone at some point of time. So, yeah. So you also mentioned about pandemic and how academic curriculum and practical exposure of law students suffered a setback during these 2 years. So how do you think can law students make up for this, what is lost by themselves?
So I think one thing that we need to realize is, one doesn't have to make up for anything, because pandemic did not just attack a law student; it attacked everybody across the world, right? So everybody in any industry was equally affected, be it me, be it you, be it a rickshaw puller, be it a billionaire. Some billionaires obviously doubled their money, but many also lost their money in this crisis. People lost their near and dear ones. So the idea is, take every setback as a learning experience. Whatever comes in life, and if you're still healthy, if you still escaped COVID unscathed, be thankful to your stars, be thankful to God. I think that is one thing that we must definitely ensure in our head, and help others. I think that is very important. What I realize personally is that you can survive with the basic minimum in life. Like in COVID, nobody was going to a five-star hotel and partying. Nobody was buying unnecessary luxury cars. Nobody was wasting their money on things which are unwarranted. So we realize that the simplicity of life lies in having one another as human beings as support system. And that is what I think COVID brought to the forefront, that yes, human beings as a civilization, human beings as people, the humane side of humanity, I think really seeped across during these 2 years. And we have seen some wonderful news where people have helped people without knowing one another, help their neighbors, help people who are stranded in the streets or seeking help outside the hospitals. So people have really come out and helped one another, and I think that the faith in humanity has been reinstated to some effect. I hope going forward, be it legal industry or any other industry, carries forward this helping mindset of one another. I think that is very important. And to the young students or lawyers who have graduated, I would just say keep at it. Law, as it is a long profession. Unlike sports, our peak comes at about 50, 60 years of age. So, by the time you're 40, 50, you're still considered young. So nothing to worry there.
Right, very true. So, sir, how do you think can law students cope with rejection at law firms despite being qualified?
So look, rejection from a law firm is not like rejection from your partner. You are not in a romantic relationship with a firm. It's a business house. So if a business house is saying, look, we can't take you, there must be some, I think, commercial reason for not accepting a candidate or their candidature. Either the slots may not be open, or they may have a particular preference for certain law schools, or they may be looking for a little more experienced candidate. So I would say keep trying. You may always get a break somewhere. It's not like your marriage is going through a rocky period, or your boyfriend or girlfriend have abandoned you. It's not like that. It's just a business phenomenon. Please embrace it. Think about it where your interview went wrong. Think about whether you need a stronger CV. Think whether a firm culture would suit you best, or should you go for an international organization or for an NGO or for court practice. There are so many avenues, right? Should you go for higher studies? It's also a time to pause and reflect and improve for your next interview. I think it's as simple as that. So don't take rejection by heart. Everybody gets rejected sometime or the other. I remember when I was applying for my first job, many a times either the firms would not respond, or sometimes they would very politely decline the email saying that we do not have any offer or any interview slot or any opening as of now. So that's the part and parcel of life. It has happened to the people before us. It is going to happen to the people after us, and it is going to happen to all of us while we are working. So it's a business cycle. It's a commercial cycle. So I don't think there is nothing to worry about that. Just keep your head down, keep working on your strengths, and keep reading as much as possible. Not just the case and the legal jargon that you keep reading about, but read fiction, non-fiction, other things which may interest you. Always keep increasing your knowledge. I think that always helps. That may always help you in one interview or the other.
Right, sir. So there's one question that a lot of people have asked us, that there are a lot of law schools mushrooming in the country, and young students get almost no guidance on how to go about their legal studies and how to do the right internships. So there is a never-ending inclination towards students from top law schools or national universities. So how do you think can this chain be broken?
Look, the saying goes that the grass is always greener on the other side. I get interns from across the country, from both national schools and non-national schools, doesn't really matter. And everybody is troubled with the increasing number of fees, the burden which has been put on law students' parents, because I think the fees on an average in law school is running into lakhs of rupees. Doesn't matter if you're in a national university or you're in a private university. That is number one. Number two, everybody is running for the same job. So, for example, today, on an average, if a law school, whatever law school it may be, national or national, whatever, let's say has 200 or 300 students in one batch, and a firm can only take, let's say, 10 candidates at the end of financial year or at the beginning of financial year, the pool still remains the same, right? You're still taking Indian candidates who are fresh graduates. On the, let's say, top 5-10 firms have total 100 openings, but there are lakhs of students who are passing. So that fact doesn't change. So either have a centralized data, or the Bar Council of India either should do it, or the placement or the HR committee of the law school should do it and take responsibility on their own shoulder that, look, there is limited scope in the market to absorb these candidates. Either the education institution on its own take less students and compromise on their fees, but they will never do this because for them it's business. They are taking fees from you because they are into a business of education business, as we say. So they have nothing to do. Your parents are working hard. They will pump in the fees anyway. Now the problem becomes, in today's day and age, students are already aware at the time of purchasing a prospectus and sitting for an entrance. At that point in time, they're already aware between the distinction of top law schools and the not so top law schools. Let's just say that. So if you already know that you're going to suffer and struggle, choices, should you choose that law school which will make you struggle 10 times harder than it already is? Take a decision which is conscious, take a decision which is not life altering, take a decision with open minds. Because at the end of the day, it's not just law, be it engineering, be it MBA, be it medicine, be it any field. Every reputed or a good organization will always prefer taking good students or students from good colleges. That has always been the norm. Why would anybody want to take a bad candidate or a candidate which has backs or has failed in multiple papers, doesn't have a grade, and there is a chance that that person may do a shoddy job? Nobody would like that. So the simple answer is work on your strengths. God forbid if you get into a law school which does not have high ranking, still work on yourself. Try for a good internship. There are so many lawyers who could guide you, mentor you, teach you. Do as many internships as possible and try to build on your strength, because at the end of the day, people will come to you for, especially as a lawyer, because you're in a service industry, for the strengths that you hold. You may be in a firm, but if you are good in your job, the firm partner or the firm seniors will then rely on you and on your ability to get the job done, or if you can do a great research, if you can bring a clientele to the table. All those things go a very long way. But I think these are the things that a law school ought to teach you.
Okay, so thank you so much for sparing time for us, interacting with us, and we'll be posting this interview on YouTube, and we'll share the link with you. And once it is uploaded on the website and socials, I'll share the links with you as well.